life is so hard. Never trip, you just gotta play your part. People counting on me, so for them I'm finna ball. Yeah, blow a check up in the mall, finna ball until we fall. Cause this life gets so hurtful, treat it like a hurt though. Gotta watch them niggas in your circle. Jealousy and envy get you mixed up in these streets. Mothers crying out for weeks, solo nigga you be careful. A couple things that I know for sure is how to get to this bread and how to get some more. Heard you was listening on the side, so my niggas finna slide. If you messing with the guys, then you...
Alain Cimankinda, he's one of the best prospects in this year's CFL Draft. He's gone through a long journey to get to this point, but at every stage of his career, he's shown everything that he can do.
At every single level in his life, Cimankinda has represented character, integrity, and he's worked hard to get to where he's at now. And he's just a testament to show that with character, with integrity, he can go anywhere you want to go in this life. And since he's moved to Ottawa at a very young age, he's experienced adversity in life and in football, but he's managed to get to where he's at now, becoming a CFL player.
The whole reason for this documentary is his journey to the CFL, because he's entering this year's draft, but he's gone through a lot to get to where he is today.
Oh, yeah.
A part of that is his recruiting process, which you were very a part of. So could you just touch on the obstacles that he really had to overcome, and what was your role in that whole process?
That's a good question in the sense that you were asking why he sticks out, because he's one of those. And when you look at all the guys that succeeded, they all face adversity. And when we look at the challenges that Alain had faced, not many kids would keep on playing. Not many kids would stay strong and trust themselves, because a lot of things kind of could have raised out, of course, but he never gave up. And when we look at Alain's journey, it's a great journey. It's a journey that needs to be told to many kids right now that are trying to play the game.
Seeing this guy and how hard he works, and he's right with me, you know what I mean? Like, we're competing. He's beating me, but we're competing, you know, and being able to just be inspired by his work ethic, to be able to go out there and put your best foot forward, even when it comes into some things that people don't like to do, which is training, you know? And so I remember, like, clearly, like, he went into CJEP and immediately, like, week one training camp, he grabbed that starting position and started to really show himself as, like, okay, he's not just a small town Ottawa guy who, you know, just been dominating lightweight competition, you know, like he can play with the big boys now, and guys that, you know, are playing high level football, whether it's in the CFL now, or have even gotten NFL looks too. He was playing with these guys and not just hanging on or, you know, doing his thing. He was dominating, you know what I mean? He was still getting a lot of sacks, a lot of pressure, really having, you know, teams having to plan against him because he was such a force on the D-line. And so from there, I was like, man, the ceiling, you know, is high for this gentleman. You know, for this guy, it's high. And so after I heard him, you know, dominating in CJEP, and, you know, a lot of guys from Ontario, they don't really get a lot of accolades from CJEP because, you know, it's a Quebec league and they want to promote their Quebec guys. But for him, they had to bend the rules a little bit because he was just absolutely dominating the competition.
You learn not to believe the hype until you see the player, you know. So yeah, Coach Jean was selling me Alain, and I knew Coach Jean for we played on the provincial team together, and when we were teenagers. So I knew Coach Jean Guillaume since since a long time ago, and
I told him about Alain, and GF, as a good friend, was willing to take on Alain. Didn't know much about him, but I told him who was Alain, and it was funny because he promised. He said, "Hey, Coach, I'll take him, but I don't know if he's gonna start. I mean, I don't expect him to play right away." You know, I said, "GF, don't worry about that." So
I knew him, and I kind of knew that, you know, he knows football, but, you know, until you see a player, it is what it is. So when Alain showed up at practice at training camp in August, after a couple of days, I remember calling Coach Jean.
It was a couple of days after my phone. I didn't have my phone close to me, but I noticed GF called me several times. So looking at my phone, I'm thinking there's something bad happening. So I picked up the phone to call him back, and Jeff didn't even let me speak. He started to scream.
Hey man, you were right. The kid is good. The kid has a motor. He can put pressure on a quarterback. And I remember that was one but that was something that we wanted to improve in 2014. We had a pretty good team, but we needed somebody that was able to put constant pressure on quarterback, and surely Alain was answering an issue that we had on defense that year.
When I came in, he was a third-year player, and the first thing I had to say about Alain was, "This guy's a dog. Like he's serious." You know what I mean? And then the field and film don't lie, right? So he was dominating, and he wasn't really a talker. He's not a talker. When I met him, right, he wasn't a talker. He would just prove it by action, just show on the field that he can do he knows what he's doing, and that he can ball. That he plays to be the best.
He's a kid that played with speed. When you watch his film, he pursued. When he was playing for us, the pursuit was something that we put a lot of emphasis on, and he answered it pretty well. So you watch his film, and it was almost a competition that year on defense. The both year he played here is who was going to make the tackle, and you ran on Alain or you ran away from Alain, but Alain was on the camera, on the picture somewhere. So he had a good motor, and he was able to pursue it and make some plays, and ended up in the footage most of the time.
And Alain ended up starting his first game and did so well there. And he was a great model, and he's a name that resonates well in the Champlain-Lennoxville legacy. So that tells you what kind of kid, what kind of adversity he faced. After that, we all know, his dream was to go play Division I. But again, another adversity. Everything was set up. Everything was going well. Coach Luke Knopf, a good friend of mine, Simon, who also helped me with the recruiting with the guys. And Luke loved him. North Dakota came up with the full scholarship. But then the other challenge, he was one credit short. Discussing with their department for registration and stuff, and the idea came. Let's say they said, "Hey, coach, let's say we call and we talk to the principal. Can she help, because maybe he was not well informed about the prerequisite to kind of come in the U.S." So we tried. Principal, she collaborated with us. We tried. It ended up not working. So now, what I really found tough, it was as a coach. Now you have this great young man who's really he really wants to make it. He's done everything the right way. Everything we asked Alain, it's always getting done. And now how you tell him it's not going to happen? So I had, again, sit down, think, and ask questions to people that I know. And the option came was, let's send him to a junior college. And there's a good junior college that would love to have him.
A decent amount of Canadians. Since I was the head coach, that's always been an area that we've recruited. You could tell with Alain that he had a lot riding on it, just because of his childhood, because, he didn't have a lot to go back to. Like you said, he was from a rough neighborhood, and, a lot of guys have a lot riding on this, but not all of them are willing. Not all of them act like they have a lot riding on this. And with him, you could just tell that he was determined and he was going to do whatever it took, because he kind of left himself no out. It was either make it or bust. And, because of that, I think, a lot of that had to do with his background. He was just determined, to make it, because he knew he didn't have anything else. And I had a lot of respect for that and the way that he approached it.
So we sent his film to Coach Forstner, New Mexico. Loved him right away. And then right away offered a scholarship to Alain.
Oh, it was great. He was always athletic enough. He was always strong enough. It was just a matter of translating it onto the football field. And he just continuously developed. He was only here a year, but over that year, really over the semester, the season, you could just see the progress that he was making. And by the end of that year, he was a really good player and
had good grades in university there. And that's a tough school. Like military school, people think here, military school, you got sent there when you're bad. Like, no, military school down there is prestigious. Like, it's not somewhere where you send your bad kids because they just get kicked out. Like, they don't play it. Like, that's for real kids who want to become officers or get into West Point.
You're going to go to New Mexico a military school, not a regular school, a military school where it's the discipline, the time, you got the uniform, you know, you're gonna go there, and from there, we will get where we want to go.
And he never got in trouble. Also, like I gotta harp on that. People used to march around because you get in trouble in military school. Like he was always focused and dialed in. You know, knew his playbooks, did his school grades, and did military stuff. You know, there's three aspects to that school. Normally it's just school football, but it's school football, military there.
The same thing happened again. Alain went there. When I picked up the phone to call about Alain and Coach Fortner, only great things came out. I mean, I remember when he received some awards, certificate awards for great work he was doing academically, and you know, and how he was as a person as well. I mean, all these things bring pride to you. It brings pride to you. I mean, knowing what he's working for and knowing all he put in, and you know, at least he gets rewarded. And that was a great journey.
You know, he had some Division I offers that he could have taken, and he opted to go back to Canada. But that's the whole thing about this is just getting options. You know, I mean, getting as many options as you can get, and then each kid has to pick which option is right for him.
Coach Fortner, still now, when you talk about Alain Cimankinda, I mean, hey, that's the type of player he wants when he describes what type of player he wants. So it was rough for Alain, and again, when he came back, you know, things didn't happen. I can go on and on. He always did the right thing, but things never came his way easily. I always say that in life you need luck, but in life you need to push for your luck sometimes. Some people are not lucky because luck doesn't come, but they push their luck. But Alain pushed his luck, and sometimes it was not obvious. Look now, went on to Guelph. He wanted to focus in school, so he came and he received U.S. offers, but he wanted to get a good education. He wanted to focus in law school, so he came to finish his education in Canada. When he went to Guelph. I mean, hey, his name is gonna stay at Guelph University forever in history, because when he went there, he did exactly what he usually does—a great job in the classroom and outside of the classroom.
His work on the field speaks for itself. You know what I mean? He's been dominating since NCAFA. And I've been following him and watching him play since he was maybe like 14, 15 years old. You know what I mean? And he's dominated at every single level he could have.
Man, it's crazy looking back at it now. You see the journey, but in all honesty, as I was going through it, you know, some days it was hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you trust the process, you trust the work, you trust the game plan that I had solidified with Coach John and Coach Simon and all the great mentors that I had around me. You know, so for me, it was just waking up every day and try to do what I could do that day to make myself a great person, a great football player, a great student, you know, and a great believer. So that kind of just became a situation where I just wanted to play football, you know, as much as I could, whether it be, you know, having my season at OVFL ending and then going to Siege after playing another season. For me, it was always, as long as I get to play football and continue to do what I love and going to school and learning, that's all I need. So
I never stress, I've been feeling so blessed. Never caught up in the mess, MRE on my chest. I get the bag and fuck the rest. This is coming from my soul.